Light Yagami, legendary high schooler and brain maxer to the extreme, came across a book that could kill anyone whose name he wrote inside, complete with complimentary creepy apple-eating Shinigami as a companion. He decided that he and he alone could clean up this dirty world and began to kill using its power, attracting the attention of Master Detective L and his many compatriots. Welcome back to Channel Frederator. Today we're going to take a look at the entire Light Yagami timeline, from his early life to discovering the Death Note and beyond. Let's get started. History. Light was raised in Japan alongside his family, including his father Soichiro Yagami, a member of the Japanese Task Force, an investigative unit opposed to Kira. His mother Sachiko Yagami and his younger sister Sayu Yagami complete the familial unit. At the beginning of the series, Light is a senior student at Daikoku Private Academy, while concurrently taking supplementary classes at Gamo Prep Academy. He proceeds to attend Toho University for his college education. Finding the Death Note. In 2003, or 2006 in the anime, Light Yagami stumbles upon a peculiar notebook at his school, bearing the inscription Death Note on its cover. Intrigued yet doubtful of its powers initially, Light soon discovers that according to its instructions, writing a person's name in the Death Note results in their demise. Through experimentation, Light confirms the notebook's authenticity and its deadly capabilities. After careful consideration regarding the continuation of using the notebook, Light concludes that no other individual could shoulder the responsibility of bettering the world. He encounters the former possessor of the Death Note, a Shinigami named Ryuk, who elucidates the reasons for relinquishing the Death Note into the human world. Ryuk also reveals that when Light's time comes, he will inscribe Light's name in his own notebook. Light shares his aspiration with Ryuk, expressing his intent to eradicate all malevolent individuals from the world and ascend to the position of its ruler, akin to a deity. As Light's killing spree escalates, it draws the scrutiny of the renowned Master Detective L. The initial confrontation between Light and L unfolds via television, commencing with the airing of Lind L. Taylor's broadcast. L strategically positions Taylor as a decoy on global television to outwit Light, leveraging the network's assertion that the broadcast has a worldwide reach. Taylor's deliberate provocation of Kira by labeling him evil triggers a furious response, prompting Kira to retaliate by inducing Taylor's demise via heart attack. As Light believes the situation to be resolved, the transmission featuring Taylor abruptly halts, replaced by L's distinctive L symbol. Utilizing a voice modulation device, the genuine L discloses that Lind L. Taylor was merely a decoy and a criminal awaiting execution. He explains that Taylor's background details were never disclosed to the public, rendering it impossible for Kira to have previously targeted him. Boldly challenging Kira, L invites him to attempt an assassination, leaving Light visibly enraged and stunned by that deception. After a tense pause, L deduces that Kira's modus operandi necessitates knowledge of the victim's true name and visage, indicating that Kira would have acted sooner if this information were available. L reveals that the broadcast was limited to the Kanto region of Japan, serving as a ruse to pinpoint Kira's whereabouts. Directly addressing Kira, L asserts his determination to capture him before the transmission concludes. As Light contemplates the situation, he embraces L's provocation and vows to rise to the challenge. Simultaneously, he proclaims his resolve to locate and eliminate L. Both protagonists assert their commitment to the concept of justice, with Light undertaking the daunting task of evading L's scrutiny and capture while also plotting L's demise. The FBI agents. Shortly thereafter, collaborating with Japanese police, L assumes command of a task force, joined by Light's father Soichiro, with the objective of uncovering and apprehending Kira. Light infiltrates his father's computer system undetected and uncovers L and the task force's suspicion that Kira may be a student. Recognizing the potential for manipulating the time of death through the Death Note, Light formulates a plan to challenge the Kira is a student hypothesis. He commences a series of killings, targeting criminals at hourly intervals to directly counter the notion of Kira's student status. This tactic serves to alert L to Kira's access to police intelligence. Light's primary objective is to instigate distrust within both the police force and L himself, anticipating L's inevitable investigation into the police ranks. While walking home from school, Light receives a warning from Ryuk that he's being followed. Intent on avoiding investigation, Light resolves to eliminate his pursuer. Ryuk enlightens Light about the Death Note's purpose, revealing that a Shinigami gains additional lifespan by using it to end human lives, thus explaining their longevity and invulnerability. Furthermore, Ryuk tells Light that Shinigami possess eyes, enabling them to discern any human's true name and remaining lifespan. He He offers Light the opportunity to acquire the Shinigami eyes by forfeiting half of his own remaining lifespan, a proposition Light declines. He explains that he requires longevity to oversee his envisioned utopian society. Suddenly struck with an idea on how to uncover the FBI agent's identity, Light resolves to exploit his pool of predetermined criminals to ascertain the level of specificity required for causing death. Light and his date Yuri board a bus, with Light's followers settling into a seat behind the couple. Before the date, Light inscribed the name of Kichiro Osoreda in the death note, orchestrating a scenario where he would hijack the bus and later meet his demise due to an accident. As planned, Osoreda boards the bus, brandishing a firearm and commandeering the vehicle by threatening the driver. Light covertly signals his follower to intervene by passing Yuri a note detailing his strategy to thwart the bus hijacker. Light urges Ray to provide evidence absolving himself of any association with the hijacker, compelling him to reveal his credentials as an FBI agent, including his real name, Ray Penber. Purposefully dropping a note, Light manipulates the situation, prompting the hijacker to pick it up only to discover it is a fragment of the death note, granting him the ability to see Ryuk. Overwhelmed by shock, the hijacker unloads his weapon and flees the bus, meeting his demise in a subsequent accident. Upon returning to Light's residence, Ryuk inquires whether Light intends to inscribe Penber's name in the death note. Light responds that doing so immediately after their encounter would arouse suspicion. Furthermore, he desires that Penber disclose the identities and appearances of all FBI agents dispatched to probe the NPA. On December 27, 2003, Light ventures into the underground section of Shinjuku Station. He's realized that he can specify the date and cause of death in the death note without providing a name, and the death note will still take effect when the name is added later. Donning a hood to conceal his identity, Light approaches Penber, unaware of his true identity, and reveals himself as Kira. Light issues a menacing threat to Penber, warning him that failure to comply will result in his demise, as well as the deaths of his loved ones and family. Light questions Penber about the presence of a laptop and whether he possesses a file containing the names of all FBI agents in Japan. Penber denies having such a file, prompting Light to hand him an envelope. Light instructs Penber to retain the envelope, remove the transmitter, and insert the earphones. Guiding Penber via the transmitter, Light directs him through a turnstile in the western entrance at precisely 3:11 p.m. At 3:13 p.m., Penber boards a train on the Yamanote line and takes a seat. Light inquires about the number of FBI agents, to which Penber responds that he believes there are 4 groups, totaling 12 agents. Light instructs him to contact an agent ranked lower than himself and request the names and faces of all agents sent to Japan. Penber complies, making a call on his cell phone and obtaining the FBI file by 3:21 p.m., making him the second FBI agent to receive it. Light directs Penber to retrieve the contents from the folder he provided, which includes 4 envelopes with 10 rectangular spaces cut out of each one's left side. Light instructs Penber to inscribe the names of the agents into the blocks on the folders. At 4:42 p.m., as Ray exits the train, he succumbs to a fatal heart attack upon catching sight of Light. Light brings the files home and removes the pages of the death note from their envelopes, unveiling the times and causes of death for each agent. Each agent will receive the file and meet their demise at varying times. Naomi Misora. Following Ray's sudden demise, Naomi Misora resolves to involve herself directly in the Kira case. Upon learning from Ray that he displayed his FBI badge to someone during a bus hijacking, Naomi deduces that Kira must have been present on the bus. In her efforts to reach out to the Japanese task force, she encounters Light Yagami. Leveraging his father's position, Light discloses his identity as Chief Yagami's son, gradually earning her trust. Initially cautious, she adopts the alias Shoko Maki as a protective measure until she can make contact with L. Then, when Light realizes that this was an alias from the way Ryuk laughed, he gets Naomi to reveal her name by telling her that he is a task force member working with L. In order to take advantage of Naomi's emotional state, Light offers her a chance to join the task force and assist in catching her fiancé's killer. Light asks to see Naomi's driver's license before he'll let her join. A piece of the death note is used by Light to write down her name, resulting in her suicide. Her body is never found because of the specifications in the death note. Surveillance cameras. Upon returning home, Light notices peculiarities in his bedroom. The doorknob, usually lowered slightly, is now positioned at the top, and the pencil lead placed on the hinge is broken. Additionally, he discovers that a piece of paper, which he has strategically placed as a bluff, has been inexplicably returned to his door. These occurrences lead Light to suspect that L has installed surveillance and wiretaps in his room. Seeking assistance, Light bribes Ryuk with apples, urging him to locate the surveillance cameras. Light discloses that he has stashed scandalous magazines and begins perusing them to convey the facade of a typical teenager, implying that the magazines were his secret. Later, during dinner, a televised message announced that the ICPO has dispatched 1,500 investigators to Japan to probe Kira, but Light discerns this as a bluff. As Light prepares to study for his upcoming entrance exams, he conceals a snippet of the Death Note and a mini LCD TV inside a potato chip bag. This particular flavor is one that only Light prefers among his family members. While ostensibly studying, Light covertly checks for criminals' names using the mini TV concealed in the chip bag, then proceeds to inscribe their names in the Death Note. The aim is to create an alibi, suggesting to L that Light couldn't have possibly been aware of the criminals' deaths while secluded in his room studying. Employing this ruse, Light successfully eliminates 2 petty criminals. Over the following days, Light continues to eliminate criminals, regardless of their status, as a means to mask the deaths of petty criminals occurring solely during his study sessions. After some time, the surveillance cameras are removed, prompting Light to devise a plan to locate L through his father. Meeting L. While taking his entrance exams, Light observes a student sitting in an unusual manner at his desk. Scoring perfectly on his exams, Light successfully gains admission to To'o University. During a speech delivered alongside another student who also achieved a perfect score, previously observed sitting oddly and identifying himself as Hideki Ryuga, Light becomes increasingly irritated by the incessant chatter regarding his own character. Hideki Ryuga reveals himself to Light as L, leaving Light in a state of shock as he tries to maintain composure around his newfound acquaintance. However, upon returning home, Light erupts in frustration, elucidating L's strategy. Should Light inscribe L's name using the alias, even if it happened to be real, the genuine Hideki Ryuga would perish, as Light will have subconsciously envisioned Ryuga's face, thereby casting suspicion on Light. Additionally, even if Light manages to uncover L's true identity, this L could potentially be a decoy, leading to renewed suspicion falling upon Light due to the suspicious timing. Despite these challenges, Light eagerly accepts L's gambit, relishing the impending battle of wits. L invites Light to play tennis, and they engage in a closely contested match. Throughout the game, both contemplate strategies. Light deduces that L's invitation serves as a precursor to future encounters, likely designed as tests. Additionally, Light intends to confirm Ryuga's true identity as L with the assistance of the task force. Following Light's victory in the intense tennis match, L unveils his suspicions regarding Light's identity as Kira. Despite this revelation, Light maintains his facade of shock. Light concludes that L's accusation is a ploy to deter him from meeting with the task force. Subsequently, they spend time together at a cafe. During their time in the cafe, L tests Light repeatedly, but Light skillfully navigates past L's psychological traps. L then proposes that Light aid in the Kira investigation, reasoning that if Light is indeed Kira, their closer proximity would increase the likelihood of Light making a mistake. And if he isn't Kira, his exceptional intellect would be beneficial to the investigation. Sensing an opportunity, Light insists on meeting the members of the task force to confirm L's identity before confirming to assist in the investigation. To Light's surprise, L agrees. Soichiro collapses from stress, prompting both Light and L to visit him at the hospital. During their visit, Light seizes the opportunity to confirm through Soichiro that the individual claiming to be L is indeed the genuine article. The second Kira. On April 22, 2004, or 2007 in the anime, during a broadcast on Sakura TV, Kira sends tapes conveying a message that if criminal reports cease, Kira will target police officers and reporters. Additionally, Kira demands that someone involved in the investigation, either the director or L, be handed over. They stipulate a 4-day deadline for the decision and assert that while there are no special requirements if the director is chosen, if L is selected, he must deliver a 10-minute speech on Sakura TV. Kira asserts that they will determine if the person appearing on the news is indeed L, and if not, Kira will exact retribution by taking the lives of several police officers. Observing the broadcast, Light finds amusement in the revelation that another individual possesses a death note, presumably with the Shinigami eyes. Recognizing the potential danger posed by this person, as they could potentially damage Kira's reputation and their capture would be disadvantageous for Light, he concludes that he must join the task force. This decision arises from his determination to monitor both L and the imposter posing as Kira. A few days later, L invites Light to join the task force. Upon arriving at the hotel, Light expresses surprise at the modest size of the task force. L then explains to Light that only a select few outsiders are privy to the details of the investigation, with only one having direct contact with L. Light internally acknowledges that if all but one member of the task force were to perish, the identity of the killer would be unveiled, prompting him to resolve to uncover the identity of the outsider possessing crucial information. Light is instructed to review the investigation documents and then watch the tapes without making any annotations or alterations. Upon viewing the recordings, Light posits the existence of another individual possessing abilities similar to Kira's. He points out discrepancies in the manner in which criminals are killed, noting instances where some were eliminated immediately after revealing their identities. Light discerns that regardless of his response, L would have divulged his plan, ensuring that Light would appear suspicious if he didn't acknowledge the possibility of another Kira, and bolstering L's theory if he did. Following this realization, L implores Light to assist their investigation by assuming the role of Kira. L emphasizes that only Light is capable of fulfilling this role and tasks him with drafting a speech as Kira. Subsequently, the tape is produced and distributed to multiple television networks. In response, the second Kira releases videos containing allusions to death notes, Shinigami, and proposals for a meeting. Despite Light's attempt to locate the second Kira in Aoyama, they remain elusive. However, equipped with the Shinigami eyes, the second Kira identifies Light as Kira, noting the absence of his lifespan from her vision. Upon discovering Light's address, the second Kira visits his home. Light then invites Misa into his room and confronts her about her actions. Misa reveals that her desire to meet Kira stems from her parents' murder, for which Kira exacted justice by eliminating the perpetrator. Expressing her willingness to serve him, Misa requests to become his girlfriend, even if it means being used by him. Although Light agrees to this arrangement with the intention of disposing of her once she outlives her usefulness, he perceives Rem, Misa's Shinigami, as a significant threat. Light recognizes that Rem's protective stance towards Misa poses a risk, as any attempt to harm her could result in retaliation. He also acknowledges the potential consequences of Misa's reckless behavior or capture, which could lead to Rem taking action against him. To prevent suspicion surrounding his relationship with Misa, Light finds himself obligated to maintain multiple romantic connections, as L has already deduced that Kira and the second Kira have formed an alliance. Disregarding Light's instructions, Misa deviates from their agreed-upon timeline and meets with Light just 2 days after their initial encounter. Light seizes this opportunity to persuade Rem to assist him in eliminating L, assuring her that it's for Misa's well-being. Rem consents to Light's request, with Light stipulating that she must adhere to his commands only when expressly instructed to do so. Unexpectedly, Light encounters L on campus, leading to a confrontation where L seizes the opportunity to snatch Misa's phone amid a bustling crowd. Misa is apprehended by L, who discloses the discovery of DNA evidence in her room implicating her as the second Kira. This development poses a grave threat to Light, as Misa's identity as the second Kira could potentially expose him as the original. Imprisoned. Light, cornered by L, initiates his master plan. Rem had already transferred ownership of Misa's notebook to Light, erasing her memories and prohibiting her from confessing. Light proceeds to exchange the notebooks with their respective Shinigami, with Ryuk connected to the notebook previously possessed by Misa and Rem attached to Light's. Light inserts 2 fabricated rules into the notebook linked to Rem. One stipulates that when the notebook is destroyed, anyone who made contact with it will perish, and crucially, failure to inscribe names in the notebook for 13 consecutive days results in death. Light directs Rem to transfer ownership of the death note she's bound to Kyosuke Higuchi, and then requests L to apprehend him. Throughout his imprisonment, no criminals perish, which further incriminates Light as Kira. Within 7 days of his confinement, Light relinquishes ownership of his death note, leading to the alteration and erasure of his memories of being Kira. On the 15th day of his confinement, criminals resume dying, and on his 50th day, L releases Light and Misa at the behest of the task force. Soichiro orchestrates a mock execution by shooting Light and Misa with a blank gun. This ruse persuades L to free Light and Misa from their captivity, since in this scenario, Misa would have supposedly killed Soichiro. Yotsuba. Light agrees to join L's team in their pursuit of Higuchi, who has assumed the role of Kira. While delving into the Yotsuba case, Light operates incognito using the pseudonym Light Azahi. L binds he and Light together with handcuffs, much to the dissatisfaction of both Misa and Light. L proposes the idea of exploiting Misa to extract information, but Light declines as he refuses to manipulate someone's emotions for personal gain. While Misa recuperates in her hotel room, L feigns lethargy regarding the challenges of apprehending Kira, provoking Light into a confrontation. Several months later, as L wallows in despondency and neglects the case, Light uncovers a correlation between the murders and Yotsuba's expansion. This revelation leads the investigation to speculate that Kira may be affiliated with or operating behind the scenes at Yotsuba. Furthermore, it prompts the realization that Kira possesses the ability to cause fatalities through other means than inducing heart attacks. Vigilantly monitoring the gatherings of the Yotsuba leadership, Light opposes L's passive approach, insisting that the killings must be halted. Assuming L's identity, Light takes decisive action and contacts Reiji Namikawa, who had previously agreed to collaborate with L and suspend the murders. Misa eventually uncovers compelling evidence implicating Kyosuke Higuchi as Kira. As L and the investigative unit devise a strategy to apprehend Higuchi, Light closely monitors the unfolding events and shadows L. This leads him to accompany L aboard a helicopter, where he witnesses Higuchi's arrest firsthand. Upon the task force's discovery of the Death Note, Light makes physical contact with it, triggering the restoration of his memories as Kira. Determined to assert ownership of the Death Note he currently possesses, Light employs a segment of the notebook concealed within his watch to eliminate Higuchi. Following the unearthing of the 13-day rule by L and the task force, Light and Misa are effectively exonerated from suspicion, although L maintains a sense of skepticism. The end of L. Light directs Misa to locate her buried Death Note, triggering the restoration of her memories. He then instructs Misa to eliminate L if she recalls his true name from their time together at school. However, since Misa cannot recall L's name, she opts to make the Shinigami ideal once more, fulfilling Light's contingency plan in case of such an eventuality. By sacrificing half of her lifespan, Misa exerts pressure on Rem. Light then commands Misa to resume targeting criminals, instigating suspicions from L that Misa is once again involved in the killings. This elaborate scheme is designed to coerce Rem into a position where she must eliminate L to safeguard Misa. As anticipated, Rem fulfills Light's plan by eliminating both L and Watari, resulting in her own demise in accordance with Light's machinations. Having emerged victorious in the conflict with L and assuming his identity, Light seizes control of the Kira investigation team. This strategic move affords him the most secure position, as he now operates under the guise of a second-generation L, effectively concealing his true identity as Kira. Over the subsequent 5 years, leveraging L's extensive database of criminal records, Light's judgments grow increasingly severe. As a consequence, the world descends into a grim era where virtually everyone lives under Kira's jurisdiction. Support for Kira skyrockets, with entire nations openly endorsing his cause. By the onset of the second arc, Kira commands the majority of the world's favor. Part 2. Mello's Kidnappings. Following 5 years of relative stability, a sudden upheaval occurs when Takemura, the leader of the NPA, is abducted in exchange for the Death Note. Simultaneously, an FBI agent named John McEnroe approaches Soichiro, seeking possession of the Death Note. McEnroe also implores the task force for assistance in rescuing Takemura from the clutches of the kidnappers. Feeling compelled to swiftly eliminate both the kidnappers and the American organization, as they're now among the few aware of the Death Note's existence besides the task force, Light takes decisive action. He orchestrates Takemura's demise, eradicating the kidnappers' leverage over the Death Note. This move appears innocuous, as it could be easily misconstrued as the kidnappers' doing. However, Light's plans are disrupted when the kidnappers announce the abduction of Sayu Yagami, placing him under immense pressure. In a bid to seek assistance, Light reaches out to the organization proposed by John McEnroe, intending to engage in dialogue. This decision leads to Light's initial encounter with Nier, who identifies himself as N and possesses knowledge of the previous L's demise. Light apprises Nier of the unfolding circumstances, prompting Nier to deploy satellite surveillance to monitor the trade site. Despite these efforts, the exchange proceeds as planned, with the kidnappers successfully obtaining the Death Note. Nier opts to pursue the kidnappers independently, but his plan backfires when Mello utilizes the Death Note to eliminate over half of Nier's team. Seizing the opportunity presented by this chaos, Light leverages his knowledge about the Death Note to broker an exchange with Nier for information regarding the perpetrator of the kidnappings. Nier discloses to Light that a figure known as Mello, operating through the Mafia, is responsible for the abductions. In response, Light directs the task force to investigate Whammy's house, shedding light on Mello's motives and actions. Upon receiving a call from the president, Light deduces that Mello had coerced him into action. Exploiting this revelation, Light manipulates the president into orchestrating a raid led by Yitzhak Gazanin. Utilizing his newfound authority over the current owner of the Death Note, Light obtains the location of Mello and the Mafia by compelling them to disclose it via mail. However, despite these meticulous preparations, the raid ends in failure due to the intervention of Saito, a Shinigami aligned with the Mafia. In a strategic move, Light instructs Misa to convey a message to the task force under the guise of Kira, claiming that Kira has relinquished ownership of the Death Note to a member of the task force. The intention behind this ruse is to instigate an attack on the Mafia in order to reclaim the notebook. Light anticipates that Matsuda would acquire ownership and make the Shinigami ideal, but to his dismay, it is Soichiro who does instead. The raid is then launched, resulting in the recovery of the Death Note. Light directs the task force to confront Mello. However, instead of eliminating him, Soichiro opts to threaten Mello, inadvertently creating an opening for Jose to severely injure him by shooting Soichiro. Following Mello's escape and the destruction of the base, Soichiro valiantly discloses Mello's true identity to Light before succumbing to his injuries in the hospital. In this final moment, Soichiro observes that Light's lifespan remains intact, confirming to him that Light is not Kira. The battle with Nier. With the aim of bolstering Kira's influence and countering Nier and Mello, Light appoints Demigawa as the spokesperson for Kira, intending to disseminate Kira's ideology widely. The demise of David Hoop and the conflict with the Mafia contribute to the United States capitulating to Kira's authority, leading to the dissolution of the SPK, Nier's organization. Nier, suspecting that the second L is Kira, contacts Light and alleges that he has extracted information from Mello, revealing the existence of counterfeit rules. Nier refutes the validity of the 13-day rule and furnishes the task force with evidence implicating the second L as Kira, sowing seeds of doubt within their ranks in a bid to turn them against the second L. Mello reaches out to Mogi, directing him to follow him to New York, a directive Mogi obeys under a watchful eye of Light and the task force. However, Mello cunningly redirects Mogi to the SPK's headquarters instead. This maneuver places Light in a precarious position, as Mello and Nier relentlessly pressure Mogi for information. Light finds himself caught between two fraught options. Allowing Mogi to live allows the possibility of him divulging damaging information, while eliminating Mogi would only further implicate Light. Fortunately for Light, Mogi remains steadfast and refrains from disclosing any compromising information. However, given the uncertainty surrounding Mogi's loyalty and the need to eliminate both Nier and Mogi, Light devises a plan to dispatch Demigawa and numerous Kira followers to assail Nier. Unfortunately for Light, Nier leverages L's legacy to divert the attention of the crowd, facilitating his escape despite the onslaught orchestrated by Demigawa and his supporters. Nier deceives the task force, falsely asserting that Mogi perished from a heart attack. This fabrication fuels suspicion toward Light, prompting Aizawa to furnish Nier with substantial information. Nier becomes convinced that Light Yagami is both the second L and Kira. Meanwhile, Mogi reintegrates into the task force. Anticipating heightened scrutiny following Nier's manipulation of the task force against him, Light orchestrates Misa to transfer ownership of her death note to Terra Mikami. Mikami swiftly eliminates Demigawa for his unruliness, demonstrating his allegiance. Mikami then appoints Kiyomi Takada, who shares a prior connection with Light, as the new spokesperson for Kira. Exploiting the situation to his advantage, Light manipulates Takada into facilitating communication with Mikami, all while appearing to cooperate with the task force under the pretense of investigating her. This maneuver prompts the task force to shift their focus back to Japan, with the SPK following suit. During a clandestine meeting between Light and Takada, Mikami initiates contact. Light seizes the opportunity to subtly confirm his identity as Kira to Mikami, who reciprocates by subtly indicating that he is the new proxy for Kira. Light then instructs Takada to request the removal of most surveillance cameras and wiretaps, purportedly at Kira's behest. In a private exchange with Takada, Light divulges his true identity as Kira. In their subsequent meetings, Light and Takada resort to communicating through written notes, mindful of the wire that the task force has placed on Light. Light instructs Takada to relay a message to Mikami, advising him to forge a counterfeit death note and utilize it for public killings, while Light clandestinely provides Takada with the genuine names for the executions. Light's rationale behind this strategy is to preempt Nier's anticipated tactic of swapping his death note with a fake during their final confrontation. Moreover, Light directs Mikami to make public statements suggesting that he hasn't been followed by Ryuk, the Shinigami, creating the impression that the death note is authentic. This scheme aims to deceive Nier during their eventual showdown, ensuring that Nier does not suspect the authenticity of the death note when he touches it. Light's plan unfolds flawlessly, as Nier's agent, Steven Giovanni, successfully substitutes the pages of Mikami's fake death note during the pivotal encounter. As Nier establishes his presence in Japan and initiates contact with Light, ostensibly to collaborate on their investigation, he subtly signals his intention to challenge Light's authority. Meanwhile, Giovanni successfully acquires the fake death note, setting the stage for the impending confrontation. Nier contacts the task force to arrange a meeting involving the SPK at the Yellow Box warehouse. Light anticipates this gathering as the opportune moment to vanquish all his adversaries and commence the realization of his utopian vision. However, just before the planned rendezvous, Takada is unexpectedly abducted by Mello. Despite the ordeal, Takada manages to eliminate Mello, but Light, seeking to erase any trace of her involvement, extinguishes her existence using fire. The long-awaited meeting between the Kira task force and the SPK unfolds 2 days later, with Mikami making a dramatic entrance during the proceedings to inscribe the names of all present into the death note, except for Kira's. Confident in his strategy and having meticulously orchestrated the events, Light anticipates victory, assuming Mikami has brought the genuine death note. However, to Light's dismay, it's soon revealed that the death note wielded by Mikami is a counterfeit. Nier discloses that Mikami had previously inscribed Takada's name in the notebook following her abduction, unaware that Light had done the same. This unwitting act by Mikami inadvertently enables Nier to seize the authentic death note that Mikami had utilized to record Takada's name. Exposed as Kira, Light initially attempts to deny the accusation. However, faced with Nier's compelling evidence and his own earlier declaration of victory, Light's facade crumbles. He laughs maniacally and endeavors to justify his actions, extolling the purported benefits of Kira's world and asserting the nobility of his intentions. Nier counters Light's arguments by emphasizing the fundamental right of individuals to determine their own moral principles. He condemns Kira as nothing more than a malevolent mass murderer who callously extinguishes lives in a selfish bid to impose his personal vision of utopia onto others. As Light scans the room in search of support, he's met with chilling stares that confirm the resolute rejection of his envisioned world. In this moment, Light realizes the futility of his efforts to sway their opinions and confronts the stark reality of his downfall. As Light desperately seeks to divert attention from his impending defeat, he raises doubts about the authenticity of the Death Note brought by the task force. However, in the midst of his speech, he swiftly endeavors to use the concealed piece of the Death Note to eliminate Nier. Before Light can complete his action, Matsuda intervenes, firing his weapon at Light and halting his attempt. Matsuda then unleashes his pent-up frustration and grief, castigating Light for his role in his father's demise and the havoc wrought upon countless lives in pursuit of his vision. Despite his injuries, Light persists, attempting to finish writing Nier's name using his own blood as ink. However, Matsuda, consumed by rage, continues to fire at Light multiple times, leaving him severely wounded. The rest of the task force quickly intervenes, disarming Matsuda before he can deliver a fatal blow to Light. Sensing the imminent danger posed by the scrap of the Death Note, they secure it to prevent further harm and ensure that Light's reign of terror comes to an end. Fate. Manga. Left incapacitated and emotionally shattered, Light's desperate cries for Mikami to dispatch his enemies are met with a harsh reality. The Death Note he relied on is revealed to be counterfeit. Stripped of his delusions of godhood, Light spirals into despair, frantically seeking assistance from Misa and Takada, only to learn of their absence and demise, respectively. In his final moments of desperation, Light implores Ryuk for aid, but the indifferent Shinigami reminds him of their earlier pact. Ryuk is neither ally nor adversary. Fulfilling his promise, Ryuk inscribes Light Yagami into his Death Note, sealing Light's fate. In a frenzy of panic and denial, Light futilely pleads with Ryuk to reverse the inevitable, his thoughts consumed with a desperate refrain of "I don't want to die." However, the inexorable power of the Death Note prevails, and Light succumbs to its finality, his once great ambitions extinguished in a moment of stark realization and ultimate demise. After seeing Light wounded, Mikami kills himself by stabbing himself with his pen, causing a diversion for both the task force and the SPK. Light uses the last of his strength to escape the warehouse despite being severely weakened and bleeding heavily. Nier tells Aizawa, Mogi, Ide, and Matsuda that after Light escapes, there is no need to pursue him because there shouldn't be any more hidden Death Note pieces, and Light's wounds would prevent him from going very far. Light is followed by Aizawa's team, despite Nier's orders. When Light settles in another warehouse to hide in, Ryuk writes Light's name in his notebook. As Light silently dies, an illusion of L appears before Light, mirroring a scene following L's defeat at Light's hand in episode 25. In the concluding moments of Death Note Relight 2, L's successors, Aizawa and Matsuda, stumble upon the warehouse to which Light has fled. The shock etched on their faces hint to a grim discovery, strongly suggesting that they have come face to face with Light's lifeless body, bringing closure to their pursuit of the elusive Kira. And that, my friends, is the entire Light Yagami timeline. What did you think? Did we hit all the important notes? What's your favorite Light moment? I personally like when he takes a potato chip and eats it. How about your least favorite? Is he a super genius or just a weird dude with a god complex? Make sure you let us know what you're thinking down in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos like this. Thanks for watching, and remember, Frederator loves you.